everybody. This is your encourager-in-chief, Monica Ray. Enter Jennifer's world with me, where her motto is, if I'm preparing 30 plates, why not just add one more? This is all while juggling the medical challenges that lupus brings to one child and the complications of being born a preemie bring to another. And these are just life challenges she takes in stride. This single mom, otherwise known as a force of nature, homeschools her kids while holding down multiple jobs. And one of the most incredible things I found out about her is that even while she has all of this going on, she feels joy in giving. And this true warrior queen mom, Jennifer, agreed to open her exhausting, hectic, crazy life. Welcome to the TheBestYou.Site podcast.
Hate Mondays? Sign up for your Monday Pep Talk, a weekly email sent out every Monday with an encouraging video to help you have a great week. Sign up at TheBestYou.Site.
Welcome to the podcast, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mrs. Ray, and hello, everyone.
Your story, and you don't have to call me Mrs. Ray. Monica is just fine. Okay? Monica. Say it with me. Monica.
Monica.
Thank you. Your story is never ending. It's poetic. It's painful, but most of all, it's hopeful. And I wanted to inspire so many others who feel like they can't make it through their day. So will you share with our audience how your unique story developed?
Yes, Monica. I am from a small town in the middle of 5 siblings. I'm the youngest girl, but the middle child. There are twin boys under me, mom and dad. Grew up just always wanting more, always wanting better. Not that life was per se bad, because my mom raised 5 kids and my dad was disabled, so she worked multiple jobs. And I watched her struggle, during our growing up. And I always knew I wanted more. Didn't know what I wanted, didn't know how I wanted to achieve it. I just knew that I wanted more. Went through elementary school, went through high school, and moved away from home. Had Jasmine when I was 20. Jasmine is my oldest. And at the age of 4, her age of 4, me 24, she was diagnosed with what's called chronic idiopathic thrombocytopenia purpura. Short term chronic ITP. And for most people, what that means is the average platelet count should be 150 to 450,000. The day she started getting sick, we went to her pediatrician's office. She had a platelet count of 50. The next week, we were on a mobile ICU on the way to Memphis with a platelet count of 2. Hers would drop that quickly. And what that meant for her is nonstop bleeds, easy to bruise, very difficult time, especially getting ready to start school. So, she felt a little different there. Because regular activities that kids could do, like get on slides, monkey bars, she was not allowed to do for the bleeding risk and the bruising risk. We navigated that for 4 years with being on first name basis with most of the ER doctors in Jackson, being on first name basis with most of the flight teams in the area, first name basis with most of the ambulance drivers and the staff from Jackson to Memphis. We navigated that. And then at 8, she was diagnosed with lupus, which generally children that young, you don't see lupus in, which added another complication. And both of those disorders are autoimmune. So we navigated the world of lupus on top of having the chronic ITP. And then a few years later, she was diagnosed with her first DVT, which for most people we call that a blood clot in her left leg. So it was a battle to try to work, take care of her, provide care, make sure that she got to and from school when she was able. Most of the time she went to your brick and mortar schools with some accommodations, of course. It was only when she started getting older that we found it more difficult. At the age of 15, she had her first hip replacement at St. Jude. At the age of 18, she had her second. But even with her first hip replacement, mobility became an issue for her. So that complicated things a little bit more for us. Um, excuse me. She just kind of took it all in stride. It was difficult. I knew that, but she doesn't very little complained often, which gave me the strength many of days. Because when you're told, the first time we told that she wasn't going to make it, it was like my world came crashing down. There was no um, nothing that you could ever prepare a parent for being told that their kid wasn't going to make it. The second time we took it a little bit lighter, and not that we took it lightly, but after the third time, we just knew that God had more for her, more plans for her. And so we navigated that. And then subsequently, she had a multitude of diagnoses to follow after the DVT. And a few years later, Princess Morgan entered the world. She is my baby. She was a preemie at 3 pounds, 4 ounces, went straight to the NICU. Mama didn't even get to hold her. And she spent most of her first month in the NICU. Our Christmas present for 2005 was her coming home a few days before Christmas. So you add a preemie into the mix of already what we have going on, NICU follow-up appointments, cardiac appointments, and a host of others between Memphis and Nashville. Then you add me trying to work along with the mix. It kind of gets complicated. Backtrack just a little bit with Jasmine. As she, right between her lupus and her ITP diagnosis, we had another tragedy to strike our lives. At 5:03, May 14th, 2014, I got a phone call that we had lost Joe. Joe at that time was my husband. He was a truck driver. And he always used to tease Jasmine or tease me. He says, if I ever got to go, I want to go doing what I love for the girls I love. And that's exactly what happened. When he died, he was working, providing for the needs of Jazz and I. And he always said, if you got to go, what a way to go, doing what you love for the people you love. And for that, we will always be thankful for the provisions that he made for us. And during that time, I was combating nursing school, 2 sick children, 1 sick child, then the loss of a husband, then another sick child, and trying to navigate being a DON all at the same time, which brought me to one of the things that I do, and that's giving. Cooking used to be shopping, but they got too expensive. Cooking was a coping mechanism for me. I would cook and bake, and then I thought, why not use that to help people? So I started giving that to people who were in need. And it just kind of grew from, doing a few plates to providing sometimes for nonprofit organizations to provide lunch for their team, to provide lunch for people that were within. Then I started started very small. I did one family one year for for Thanksgiving. And then after that, it just kind of grew to providing meals for multiple families for Thanksgiving, providing meals for multiple families for Christmas, and then also for Christmas, providing gifts. And then kind of the next year, I threw in school supplies because I knew what a struggle it had been at points for me to provide for my own children. And so when God put me in a better position, I wanted to do that for others. So along the way, I find joy in really cooking, baking, doing, giving, and helping other people. I mean, it cost me nothing except for decency.
It cost you nothing, and you, as the mother of a special needs kid, also, I know it gets to the millions of dollars that it costs to between insurance and all the things to take care of your child. And what's so beautiful is you say it cost me nothing. I specifically wanted to talk with you because there are busy lives and there are busy lives. And you show us just with your life, just how to keep living, even with, all that you've had to deal with. I think your story sounds like a best-selling country song. 2 kids, 3 jobs, 2 dogs. Is what I think. I think you need to be on your way to Nashville right now to Printer's Alley. But tell us, how you learn to navigate, because these aren't things like shoes that you can put on a shelf and take off when you need to. Share with us how you learn to navigate all the different kinds of things you had to do, that you have to do as a single mom.
You know, we start out, and I think I shared with you one day sitting at my table what my calendar looks like and my planner. You know, we start out with the unchangeables. The unchangeables are doctor's appointments and certain other things that we have to do. We base everything around the unchangeables. We sit and we figure out what cannot be changed for this month. And then we kind of build on top of that. If my children have evening appointments, I will try to work the day before, like a night shift, or the morning of, get up early and do the morning of. If they have morning appointments, I will work the evening of. There have been times we have came, you know, straight from Nashville and I've gone to work, but you have to prioritize based on the unchangeables. You know, if this can't change and I have 20 other tasks, what's the most important? It's kind of like putting out fires. You know, whichever fire is burning the hardest and the hottest, you got to put that out first. And you have to combine that with the unchangeables while continuing to work, provide for your children, provide mental and emotional support as well. You know, little things like pharmacy runs, grocery shopping. You just got to come up with a list and you just, okay, we got to go to Target today. We got to go to Walmart today. We got to go this today. Okay, we can do all of this in one run. Got to be at work at 2 p.m. Okay, we can do this. And you don't just think about it, you do it. You just do what you have to do.
Wow, that just, you make me tired just listening, and I know you, so I look at you and put my hands in my head and say, whoa. Whoa, I'm tired just listening to the story. I can't wait to continue this fun talk, and we'll be right back.
Learning to Splash, Conquering the Life You Have Been Given, is a heart-wrenching story written by Monica Ray. This book takes you on an intimate, decades-long journey of one woman's battle with watching her only child confront debilitating chronic illness while dealing with feelings of inadequacy, guilt, depression, and helplessness. Learning to Splash, Conquering the Life You Have Been Given is available at TheBestYou.Site.
This is Monica Ray, and I'm having a wonderful time talking to a cool friend of mine, Jennifer, who is more than a friend. She's going to help so many other people. So as our audience is finding out, Jennifer, you are a multi-dimensional force of nature with so many layers that build on this beautiful mosaic that make you. And I want people to get to know you. So I'm going to call out a role, and I want you to tell me what that means to you. Okay, we're going to play a game. All right. Okay. Woo, a game. So the first role that I've seen you excel at, and you excel at all of these, is a giver. And we've talked some about that. What made you decide to and take joy in being a giver?
As I said earlier, it started out as a kind of a coping mechanism. But what I found is that there were so many people that needed so many things. It's not just food. It's not just clothes. Sometimes simple things like we have people who are unable to navigate a financial aid form, unable to navigate sending a letter in for a request of certain things. And so, you know, a lot of times I have people that'll come to me. I don't mind doing that, again, because God blessed me with the ability to be able to do that. So why not give that back to others? And I must also say that being a giver, nothing we have ever given. You know, I've had people into my home, you know, that needed things and said, go through the house, get what you need. Nothing that we have ever given, we have done without. God has always supplied what we needed and then some. So we've never really done without anything that we have given away because God supplied it.
Talk the talk, girl, because you walk the walk. Isn't that a beautiful way to live, audience? I also see you as an amazing learner from high school through getting your, help me make sure it's right, LPN to RN through and a master's degree. And this is all while navigating all these complicated situations with your children. How did that happen? How were you able to excel at being a student as well as everything else?
Um, my foundation for education was formed really honestly early on in elementary school. I had some of the best, or I will say some of the best, but one of the best English teachers that our county had to offer. And she thrived and on teaching and having her students to learn and the importance of that. And then I later went on to a high school teacher who built on that as well, and I would be exhausted and turn in papers and she would accept them. She would give them back. I'm like, excuse me? She's like, I want something from you that you are capable of, not that you just want to do. And that kind of stuck with me. Having two children, education was also a stress reliever for me. But there was a point when things got kind of rough, being able to provide for Jasmine and her medical needs, that I knew that I needed and wanted more to be able to provide for her, which drove me to start down the path of something other than nursing, because my end game was to just leave nursing altogether. Because it had became too overwhelming, because I was playing the role of a DON, two children on call all of the time, having to leave my home, having to take my children. And so I kind of wanted to get away from that and go into the administrative side, which is what started my associates. I eventually had a dual associates, dual bachelor's, dual master's. The goal was to get my doctorate, but at the point when we got to my master's, we had a major complication in health. And so I had to put that on hold. Now, don't get me wrong, I cried for a few weeks because I had this plan of what I wanted to do. And I, of all people, can tell you that plans never go the way we want them to. And I knew that, but I just knew that this educational plan was just going to go the way I wanted it to, but it didn't. And so I had to make the decision, do I continue with this educational plan in spite of, or do I stop and do I take care of my children? And I was continuing to take care of my children, but I mean, really focus in on the new issues that we had. And so I made the decision to step away from my education, play a bigger role in what was going on with my children. But education has continued to be important to me. And I tried to convey that to my children, whom I homeschool one, and the other is in her last few classes at community college. And thank you, Jesus, they will both be tentatively graduating next year.
Woohoo! Woohoo! That's amazing. And you know what? I don't think your educational journey is over either. I think you just had to take a pit stop, but I think you're going to get back on the track because you're smart as I don't know what. You didn't tell them about the 4.0 GPA. But you're modest, but I won't be. So let's move on. I see you as a comedian. You have helped me so many times in my private life just with your humor, because we have things in common. And if you send me another text about a stripper on the pole, they always lift my spirit. They always make me feel better. Talk about how you've used humor to navigate your life.
We have cried, oh my Lord, many, 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 many tears and buckets and buckets and buckets of tears. And one day I was like, we've cried enough. Let's do some laughing. I am done crying. Now, that's not to say that I don't have my moments. Let's laugh. So we take everything and we turn it into humor. You combine the humor of being a nurse with being a mom caring for a chronically ill child, and just everything turns into a joke for us. Not that life is a joke, but we make light of it because you either laugh or you cry. And if you continue crying, it's just not beneficial to anybody. So why not do a little laughing? Why not send a few little girls on the pole, just jokes. What does it hurt? Nothing.
You have done that to me, and your threats of going to the liquor store or living at the liquor store, they have helped me along my journey because it gives me a different perspective.
We drive past it.
We drive past it.
We drive past it, but we don't stop. But by the grace of God, and again, I joke about those things, but by the grace of God, that My life has needed none of those things, just his providence, his grace, and his mercy.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. And I want to end with one that is just so special to me. You are what I call a tower. You know how you're on the beach and there's a lighthouse, and that lighthouse always provides light. So if there's fog, if there's storms, it's always like a refuge for you. And I see you as that kind of person. Your life, your goodness, your kindness, your strength bring light to other people's lives. I've talked to people that just, they are just amazed at what you bring to their lives, even in your suffering. And I'm one of those recipients. So I see you as a tower, a tower. Tell me how that came. You're a lighthouse. You're full of light. Tell me how that came about.
Very painfully, honestly, it came apart as a very painful process as we continue to go down the roads of medical, educational, and the various facets of our lives. We discover many things about ourselves. And part of that, I think I've said to you before, is, part of being that tower is to learn to be a part of your landscape. You've got all these things that happen out here. You have got to learn to be a part of your landscape. And that is, even if you're a blade of grass, you be a part of your landscape. And that starts with self-care. You have got to take care of yourself so that you can be a part of the landscape. And then you can become that tower that can assist in the different areas of life with different people. But you will never, and hear me, people, you will never get to that point if you don't make yourself a part of the landscape. Even if you're just a blade of the grass, you need to be a part of the landscape. Self-care is crucial. I can't pour into you if I have nothing to pour into you.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. That is so true. And you don't just talk about it. You're at the gym at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning while I'm still snoring and doing your healthy smoothies while I want a candy bar. So you are living what you're talking about. You're living what I'm talking about. I asked you to give me 3 mantras that keep you going. And can you share those with our listeners? Because I think they're so important.
Yes, ma'am, I can. My first one is, don't dismiss the cross. Meaning, he hung, bled, and died for you put the blank there, everything. Don't dismiss that. Because when you don't make that a part of who you are, life is difficult. Without the cross, the representation of what it stands for, what he did, life can't be as joyous as we would like it to be. Because, I know some people who would argue, but that's my personal opinion, that you can't ever dismiss the cross and everything that we bring from that. I mean, God has been, he has given us. All we have to do is step into what he has given us, keep our heads up, and keep our faith. Do not dismiss the cross. That's the first thing you got to start with, is not dismissing the cross. And that leads you to everything else. The second thing, which is very near and dear to me, what ifs will kill you. Meaning, what if I hadn't gone to the open house the day I went into labor with Morgan? What if I had noticed the symptoms in Jasmine earlier? And I know for a fact that many parents with children, or many caregivers with children, or other families that have chronic illnesses, look at the what ifs. What if I didn't do this? What if I had done this? The what ifs will kill you. So what I suggest to anybody is to forgive yourself for whatever you think you've done. Hear me when I say whatever you think that you have done. It took some time for me to understand that no matter what I did, Morgan was going to be a preemie. So I had to forgive myself for what I thought I had done. No matter what I did, Jasmine was going to be diagnosed with ITP. No matter what I did, the challenges were going to come. So when you don't forgive yourself, that just adds another facet to things that you have to deal with, guilt. And as we all know, guilt can eat you alive. Guilt can make you do things that you wouldn't normally do and prevent you from doing things that you should do. So you got to let the what ifs go because they can kill you, and forgive yourself for whatever you thought you've done. And one of the most important, number 3, say a prayer, take a breath, let your guard down, and allow those that God has placed in your life to help. Notice I didn't say he put in your life, accidentally came in your life. He placed in your life. What I do know and what I have experienced is that God will place the people in your lives that you need there at the times that you need them. No one, even if it's, I have found over years that we have ran into housekeepers and kitchen staff, people of all different areas that work in medical facilities, that I may be having a bad day and the cleaning lady comes in and she stops and she prays with me, or somebody in the cafeteria says, hey, what's wrong? Is there anything I can do? And just know that whatever your situation is, God has got this. He never places you in anybody's life by accident. It is up to us whether we understand and get the reason that they're there or we don't.
You know, that is so incredibly true, because you and I met at a park while our children were in the park, and you and I had a casual conversation and learned that we had so much in common. And
Yes.
I love how you say placed in your life, because you were placed in my life to bring joy, humor, and light. That's why you were placed there. You said that you'd like to thank a special or a special group of people, and I want to give you that opportunity.
Yes. If you will give me a few moments, as you said, you know, I can't take credit for any of this without, again, thanking our amazing Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for what he has done for us, and the people that he has placed in our lives, and the things that we have done, and the journeys that we have taken. You know, I'd also like to thank, of course, my beautiful, intelligent, sassy, understanding girls, Jasmine and Morgan. You know, a special thanks to all the medical teams that have intervened, St. Jude, Vanderbilt, Le Bonheur, all the ambulance teams, flight teams, doctors, nurses, but an extra special thank you to the man. We call our healthcare a train, and every train needs a conductor. Over the last decade plus, Dr. Thomas Brent Graham, pediatric rheumatology, has been our conductor, and a huge thanks goes to him. You know, a special thanks to my best friend, Miss Shelley Price Mass, and her mother, Debbie Price. They're always there when I call them, day or night. I can call them of course I don't, but I could call them at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she wouldn't ask questions. She would just show up. Every woman, and hear me when I say this, every woman needs a Debbie and Shelley in their lives, because we all need people to lean on. You know, there's a special lady in my life that I met her shortly after I moved to Jackson. She has loved me as one of her own, prayed with me, prayed for my children, and even become like a second mother to me and a grandmother to my children. Thank you, Miss Gloria Prescott. A couple of beautiful souls that we have met along the way and who have helped with this journey. Miss Monica Ray has been very instrumental. I can cry on her shoulder, and we can suck it up and go back to work and have the day that we need to go. And Miss Latoya White, she's also there for me to vent and listen to. My wonderful small group class, and my leader, my awesome dynamic leader, Mr. T.C. Talley, and his beautiful wife, Juanita. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank Mr. Frederick Jackson. I don't have the words to thank this man for what he has been and what he has done in my life. Runs errands, listens to me whine. Yeah, I whine every now and then. Dries my tears. Whatever it is that I need him to do, he does. He's been my rock for a bit. And for this, I love and I thank you. Meeting you has been one of the best parts of my life. And I will close by saying to everybody, hold your head up, hang in there. There is nothing that you and God can't handle.
Amen. Preach the word, say what you need to say, and go on with your bad self, girl. That's what I have to say. Wow, have we not had a great time today? Jennifer, thank you so much. You give us a roadmap for developing our best life, no matter the roadblocks that we have. And thank you for showing us how you've been able to navigate yours. We wish and pray for you and those beautiful girls the very, very best. And thank you for listening, everybody, to this episode of TheBestYou.Site podcast. Do you want your story featured, audience? Submit a 1,000-word story of ordinary people doing mind-blowing things at TheBestYou.Site /contact. This is Monica Ray, thanking you for the privilege of your time.